Hello, everybody, and welcome to the PC Gamer Show for what's today, November 1st. November 1st. We're on the slow crawl to Thanksgiving. Did you guys get spooked last night? Did you watch some scary movies?
Yeah, we watched Creep 2.
Yeah, that was a surprise to me. I saw the first one. There's a Creep 2 out. It's on demand, yeah?
Yeah. If you've seen Creep 1, it's a worthy follow-up. It's horrible.
Definitely. So go check that out because I didn't watch enough scary stuff going up to Halloween. There was like The Evil Within 2 was like sort of my only.
We watched the one you recommended as well about the babysitter and the little boy.
It was okay. Better Watch Out.
I didn't like it.
It's if the kid was more. What is this podcast? We'll talk about horror stuff later. But let me introduce our guests here. So we got global editor in chief of PC Gamer,
Pleasure
Tim Clark.
to be back, James. How's
Yeah, we're glad to have you. We got some good stuff to talk about. Finally, you get to deliver your sermon on Destiny 2's endgame after sitting on it for.
Without shame.
Yeah, exactly. And Chris Livingston, staff writer, and he's going to talk about Assassin's Creed today.
Hi. Also, we watched Split for Halloween, which was not scary.
I watched that on the plane. It was not scary.
I think Split is absolute garbage, and people who think the twist is a great piece of world building are idiots.
I agree.
It was not very good.
Not you, dear watchers, though.
No, it's an all right movie. M. Night Shyamalan was never very good. He had maybe one or two.
I think it's
decent.
like legit bad at the end.
Yeah, oh yeah.
When the aha reveal of like, and I don't think this is it spoiling it, but by like they kind of go, but this thing you didn't imagine, like, it's like, who gives a shit? Who gives a shit about the thing? Don't watch it. Do watch it just if you like being angered up.
Scary movies, nothing happened, yada yada. Yeah, we got a lot to talk about today. Mostly about what we've been playing because
video games.
There's a lot of stuff out now. A very, very busy week.
Should we start with Mario Odyssey?
I played a lot of Mario.
I was joking.
I'm not joking. I played a lot of Mario, but we'll save that for when the eventual emulation and absurd modding scene hits PC in a year or two or whatever. But okay, we're here. We have sound. We're back. That's good. That's good. So yeah, let's just move on to what we've been playing. I think because you guys have been playing the two big things, I'll start with what I have been playing. One game I can't talk about, but I just have to do that. It's a nice power play.
You went on a trip to a well-recognized PC developer.
Yes.
To see a game that is coming out this year.
Yes. So expect things about that, thoughts and opinions and such very soon. Other than Destiny 2, which we'll get to in a bit, I played more of The Evil Within 2, and I think that game is going to be it's going to go down as severely underrated.
I've been thinking about picking it up, but I mean, I don't think it'd be underrated because I think most of the reviews have been pretty good.
Well, okay.
I don't get the sense anyone's really playing it.
Maybe that's it. And maybe I'm trying to battle with like my expectations and like what I consider good horror games, and like maybe it's just like it's tickling some nostalgia buried deep within me since Resident Evil 4 that hasn't been, it hasn't surfaced in a long time. So I don't know, but it's not the. When I went to a preview event like a couple of months ago, I fought a limb monster and the combat was strange, and I got thrown into it, and I was like, okay, this is just kind of another Silent Hill ode with Japanese monsters that just, they're scary because they're absurd, and that's it. But it goes places I didn't really expect, and has some twists and turns I didn't really expect. The open world stuff. Do
you think any video game monsters are actually scary, or do you think they just? I feel like when people say scary, what they often mean is just like, that's a cool, gross design.
Yeah, I think encounter design is really what drives that kind of thing, because I've played a lot of tiny, like, lo-fi games that have like a pixel monster or a circle, like a sphere. There's this itch.io game I played where a sphere chases you. It's not visually scary, but the sensation of being chased is. And that sort of applies here. I don't think it's really a scary game.
I found, like, in Alien Isolation, which I didn't play much of because I found it frightening, the sensation of hiding under the desks was genuinely tense and upsetting to the point I didn't want to do it anymore. But I wasn't scared of the alien.
No.
But once I saw it, I was like, yeah, it's that goofy alien.
We've known the alien for a long time now.
It was more like the mechanic that was scary or stressful. I actually wrote a thing on the site a few of us about like the best scary indie games to tie in with Halloween this week.
Oh yeah,
I think
some great stuff
Sam
in there.
was in charge of it, and I wrote a little bit about Inside and remembering the Underwater Witch. Do you remember the Underwater
Really
Witch?
spooky. Really
Yeah,
spooky.
and that was definitely creepy. And I think because of the way she choked
It's
you out.
animated, the hair physics and
Animation goes a long way way with a good
horror monster. Yeah. So I mean, I'll leave the Evil Within 2 at that. But if you have kind of fallen off the survival horror train, I maybe wait till it's on sale or something.
Wait, I still don't know what's the thing that makes it stand out and be different, because I'm still not clear on that.
That's what I'm battling with. It's like there's nothing really that sets it apart besides maybe the structure and what you see and do. Like, okay. I don't know. It's just surprising me. It's not like Japanese horror 101. It's not like the same thing you've played a million times over, but it pulls more from Lynch than I'd expect.
Are you saying that like it subverts your expectations?
Yeah.
Like it surprises you?
It surprises me. Yeah, because I had this idea of what the Evil Within was, and it was like gross monsters in like a surreal world, and that's kind of it, with like some bad writing. But there are some truly like surreal set pieces that kind of just upset the structure of the game. Maybe it helps because it's open world and you're not always on a linear like tunnel, and so when something surreal happens when you're like in an open world, it's extra surprising because you're just kind of moseying about your own pace and so on.
I know our review was really positive. Joe Donnelly wrote it. I've seen like a few other critics who I like really talking it up, so I think I'm gonna check it out.
Yeah. That's the Evil Within 2 for you, those of you just turning in, and I think it's worth checking out, definitely. But I don't know what we should move on to first. Have you guys played anything besides these big?
I played like 45 minutes of Bomber Crew, which was the
right.
Bomber Crew? Yeah,
I think so.
The indie bombing game.
FTL-ish.
When I say bombing, I mean you're flying like an old what do they call them? Like those British Lancasters, those like flying fortress type planes, which have like a rear gunner and a top gunner and a front gunner and some other gunners. And it's a bit like FTL. You have to really I don't know if I ever talked about this last week, so I'll try not to say too much about it if he's already talked about it. But yeah, you had to kind of make your guys run up and down the plane like repairing stuff while dealing with incoming fighters and opening the bomb bay doors to drop your bombs. Evan made the point of, I think it's pretty hard trying to manage doing the kind of targeting lock on with your mouse while at the same time moving your dudes around. It's almost quite it's quite sort of dissonant trying to do that. Like it's a bit like, I guess, like the equivalent of like patting your head and rubbing your stomach at the same time, which makes it actually pretty hard. But it's got like a really nice art style and definitely interesting, worth checking out if you like that sort of thing. It's harsh though, like it's harsh.
Yeah, that's what I hear. I posted a link to our kind of hands-on impressions in chat, so check that out if you're curious about more. Chris, anything else besides Assassin's Creed?
That is pretty much the only thing I've been playing since last week, except for I played a little Fallout 4, obviously not a new title, but I was playing it with a mod that lets you punch people unconscious and creatures.
Oh, right.
So I'll be writing about that because that's already getting a little ridiculous.
I look forward to that. I very, very much look forward to that. Cool. Well, in that case, why don't we talk about, the elephant that's been in the room, clearly, for months now. Destiny 2. And, well, specifically, I want to talk about, because it's out on the PC. It's been out for, is it a week now?
Since last Tuesday.
Tuesday. And I think some people are getting close to the end game. The raid came out today, and maybe kind of coming up to a known, you might say, where it kind of slows down a bit. Can you talk about the end game of Destiny 2 and sort of its problems and what what Bungie's going to do about that?
So Tom reviewed the game last week. We posted it on Friday. I think he gave it 85, I think, as I recall.
Yep.
And I'm going to caveat what I'm going to say about Destiny's Endgame and where I think the issues are with it by saying that I completely agree with Tom's review. I think Tom made the very good point that what you're going to get out of the game is 100 and so hours and change worth of, really good sci-fi shooting. You're going to enjoy that experience. And it's the kind of thing you can dip them back in and out of as expansions come out, as they make as they patch weekly events in and stuff, which they've got this live team that manages. What it isn't, and I think where you're getting an amount of like community blowback from, is this forever shooter where you can just play this game to the exclusion of all else, and there'll just always be stuff to see and do. And I think it's even less that game than the first one was. And the first one, I think, for anyone who stuck around with it on console, like went through some big fallow patches where there was no new content between expansions. It's something I've talked a bit about before, where people are kind of already going, they're already releasing DLCs. In December is the first one, which we covered this week on the site. It's called Curse of Osiris. It was just, they confirmed some details. So people have kind of pointed out and said, why they're already doing DLCs for a game that's only just come out. But for a game like Destiny, like, new stuff is the lifeblood. And I think on PC, what people are going to find once they get to that kind of 100-hour or so mark, which, as you point out, they're probably going to be coming up to quite soon, is you really do hit this wall of stuff to do. And in fact, it's not quite stuff to do, it's incentive to do it. Right. The problem with Destiny's endgame fundamentally is that the loot becomes meaningless once you hit the level cap. You're no longer grinding for gear that will raise you up in power. The power level is actually kind of fairly chimeric in terms of its importance anyway. I say chimeric, what a pretentious word. It's kind of pointless, right, the power level, because most of the activities in the game don't require you to be max power anyway. No. The big philosophical decision that Bungie made when developing this game, and I understand why they did it even if I don't agree with it, is they wanted like all the stuff in the game to be accessible to pretty much everyone. So that sounds like they just kind of casualified the whole thing, which is there's an element of that, but it's not quite fair. What they wanted to do is, I think, make sure everyone experienced most of the cool shit they made. So to do, one of the ways they did that was they took out random roles in terms of like the perks on gear and armor, which in the first game had been the kind of people had really ended up grinding for like the dream version of their favorite scout rifle or hand cannon, right? The one with the ideal combination of perks that suited their playstyle, blah blah blah. Idiots like me would run the strike playlist for an entire weekend playing the same things, just hoping for one gun to drop with the perk roll they wanted. Now you can argue that was a kind of that was not a good kind of grind. I don't know if the Twitch streams.
Yeah, it looks like the Twitch stream went out again.
Oh, just as I was getting into my stride.
No. Well, we're still recording video, so I mean, like,
shall I keep going?
This is not going to be lost. Yeah, just keep going, and we'll come back.
So yeah, you can argue that by taking away what was some people for sure saw as like a slightly abusive mechanic, in the sense that, like, plenty of people would say it's not fun to keep grinding for a gold roll on a gun. The mistake they made was not to replace it with anything. So now there are like, however many legendary and exotic guns in the game. Let's say, for argument's sake, there's 150, right? I'm not sure on the exact number, but that's probably not far off. Yeah. Now, because they're going to always drop with the same perks, once you hit the max light, almost all the loot becomes irrelevant, because, to take an example that Luke Smith gave, there's a hand cannon called Better Devils. If you get your 5th, your 6th, your 20th Better Devils are the exact same gun. So now, like, I don't even look at weapons when I have them drop out in the wild. Right. And even with something like the Raid, which went live on PC today, I had all the gear you could get from the Raid within probably 3 weeks of running it on a couple of characters. I had everything, between being in a clan, which gets you some free stuff, and playing with a reasonably competent group of players, it kind of robbed me of reasons to go back into it. And I'm someone who would habitually have raided every single week in Destiny 1 with the same group of players. It was a social activity for me, and I'm sure they've caught some flack for saying, well, friendship. One of their PR guys, one of their community guys, it's so cheesy. I feel sorry for him. He'd said they do a weekly post, right, called This Week at Bungie on every Thursday, and he'd kind of like, he'd caught the way the wind was blowing in terms of some of the community reaction, and he wrote, well, think as well about the friends you make in the game and those sorts of experiences, and people just went immediately like, F you can't swap loot for friendship. We're not communists.
I don't know though.
I mean, there's something, I understand what you're saying.
It's a sweet sentiment, but
I've met some really good friends in the game.
You're right.
The problem is I think with a community like, so the community that sustained that game through 3 years, are ones who want to very much see Bungie double down on the RPG side of things and make it more MMO-like,
Right.
and make it so that there's always reasons to log in every week and it always feels fresh. And for one thing, like, you know, when I've interviewed like the Bungie team, they've kind of said it would be impossible for us to come up with that kind of schedule in terms of creating new stuff. We saw last week they had an announcement at TwitchCon where they talked about seasons coming to the game. Seasons are going to be kind of, I think, 4 a year, so like, you know, like real seasons, 3 monthly intervals. After which they'll patch in basically a bunch of new weapons to some of the main modes in Destiny, like the big PvP mode that runs on weekends called Trials of the Nine. They're going to patch in guns with new perks for that. They have this thing called the Iron Banner, which is another PvP event where people were again like complain quite bitterly that the loot was just reskins of existing stuff and pretty boring. They're gonna apparently, you know, patch in more unique loot. But the really interesting thing I think came actually in last week's weekly post, where the game director from the live team, which as the name suggests is the group of developers who manage it on a kind of week to week, month to month basis now that the kind of the main release has happened. He put out and you know, you can believe this was in response to the amount of salt that was kind of going down amongst the community. He put out like a list of things they're working on. I'll read a couple of them out. Just
do it.
I put it. So it was kind of bullet pointed, and he talked about new systems and rewards to give our most engaged players additional optional pursuits, better incentives for players who complete challenging prestige activities. Prestige at the moment is the hardest stuff in the game, and again, like, they're very unrewarding, these prestige things. They tend to give you just like an emblem or like a slightly different coloured armour. They're not, you know, where you would expect to be getting an incredible weapon or whatever. Crucible tuning has been adjusted this week, so that's something else they've been working on. Changes to the mod economy, that's where I think the potentially the biggest scope for improvement can come in. At the moment, the mods you can apply to weapons and armor are very limited. It's a very simple system compared to something like a Warframe.
Right.
Yeah, so I'll try not to bang on too much more about it, but like, I think the biggest way they can improve the end game as it currently stands is to bridge that gap between the random roll grind from the first game and the static roll grind they've got in the current game. And the way to do that is by really improving the mod economy. Mods at the moment are really boring. They're like, they improve your reload speed, they improve like your handling speed, they offer like flat damage buffs to some of the weapons, and like, that's it. But this is a game which, you know, over the course of 3 years created tons and tons of interesting perks for weapons. They really need to like get over themselves with this obsession with having everything balanced unilaterally between PvP and PvE, and start making mods that, and maybe the mods just apply in PvE so they can avoid that kind of balance problem. And having like exotic mods, really rare ones coming from like particular activities, so there are reasons for like obsessive junkie scum like me to keep going back into the game, because I would grind that game like crazy just to get my kind of dream loadout of mods on particular weapons. And I what I would say to like anyone listening to this who hasn't jumped into the game is like, well, what the fuck, a week in, like, it sounds like there's a load of problems, and why is the review positive? The review is positive because I still think it's like a tremendous game. It's a tremendous sandbox. Like, their art team is close to peerless. Like, the creature design, the worlds themselves are really fun kind of playgrounds to be in and enemies to fight. Where they're, I think, and Bungie just like, if I had hair, I'd pull it out. Like, it's with the economy stuff and the systems. They seem to just make some absolutely crackers decisions.
It's strange.
So and the same goes really for all the activities in the game, whether it's the strike playlist or the nightfall, which are particularly hard missions that run weekly, or the raid. All the problems are kind of the same, which is that the incentive dries up too quickly to keep running it. While you're on the journey up to the top of the mountain, you will have a great time, and that will take you like roughly, like I said at the top, about 100 hours. But they need to radically address what's happening with the end game, and it sounds like they are. At least they're going to take a swing at it.
I mean, hopefully. Counterpoint, I suppose, is they.
They've got your money and they don't give a shit.
Partly, but during their, what was it, TwitchCon sort of stream where they talked about seasons, most of what they announced was like, seasons, as I understand it, are a cadence for updates and rhythm for releases, and sort of like a plan that you can see and sort of anticipate what's coming and when. But most of the content, like they showed off, will be Eververse related.
Cosmetic stuff. Yeah.
Cosmetic stuff that, and Eververse, if you don't know, is sort of there. If you level up or earn a certain amount of XP, you get something called a bright engram that just drops you cosmetic stuff.
It's like a loot box, effectively, for purely cosmetic
it is
stuff.
Because you can also spend real life money on these things. And so what the problem is, to me, is like, sure, they can fix the mod economy and make those interesting, but they already sort of they don't have a lot to pull from in terms of reward for fixing the end game, because they've cordoned it off into this store.
Allow me to make a counter.
Oh yes.
So I think that's true. I think it's not true is that those season refreshes will come with a major sandbox patch as well.
Yeah. And
the sandbox change will basically rebalance like weapon archetypes. They'll bring new weapons into the meta, which is another word you love using on this show. So I think that will refresh the feel of the game. And the other thing is, like, I think like it's relatively, I don't want to speak for how like games are made, but like I think it would be relatively facile for them to add in, say, you know, new loot pools to some of these activities for like very rare drops for like, you know, no one's playing Lost Sectors, not because Lost Sectors are bad, but just because like, what's the fucking point? Like you just get like a couple of tokens from it. But if there was like a sniper rifle that could only be found from EDZ Lost Sectors and it was a 1 in 100 drop, you know, I'd still, because like I said, I'm junkie scum, I would still keep going back looking for that sniper rifle. So I think like Bungie and Destiny, like whether you, even if you're not playing it, it's a funny scene to follow because they're so fascinating in the sense that they're so unpredictable in terms of the quality of their decisions. Like I think their game is great but flawed, but I'm always like so. You know, I'm almost like a whimpering dog who doesn't trust its master. Like I always think, like, will it be food today or will they kick me in the ribs? Like,
no.
I just can't be sure. Which is sort of exciting as a writer covering.
Right. I mean, we always have something to talk about or think about in terms of like now we get to be on that.
I mean, and what I would say is like, and this I would address this to like the people who've commented on our stories, sort of saying, you know, you guys are too soft on them or whatever. Like like I said, I would definitely agree that there is a substantial problem with the end game, and they know it for sure. Like I've been able to watch on PlayStation like my friends list hemorrhage over the last, you know, couple of weeks where people have just stopped playing. Yeah. You know, PC Gamer, we run a clan, or we've just started a clan like last week where we're going to, you know, look to run some raids with some club members and stuff. But I'm also in a clan on PlayStation 4, and like even overnight last night we had like another exodus of players. People just quitting because
my app was lighting up. Yeah.
They were like, you know, this isn't active enough. And it took them a while in the first game to get things right. And the bizarre thing is they dumped a bunch of quality of life changes that Destiny 1 brought in. So yes, an unusual developer to report on.
We'll see how it goes. I mean, at the very least, again, it's fascinating. I do want to know, Chris, what do you think Bungie can do to fix Destiny 2's endgame? I want to see the bullet point list. Let's go. Top tier changes. What do they need?
Yeah, I don't have any real suggestions. I would say listen to Tim. He seems very opinionated and very
listen to Tim
in whatever it is that
he just said
about.
I mean, that's a good Bungie. That's your solution. Listen to Tim.
We're going to try and probably stream our first set. This will hopefully make more visual sense than listening to me just yammer on. But we're going to hopefully stream PC Gamer's first raid attempt probably Friday or Saturday. I don't think we've decided yet.
Yeah. So that's out today, and that's like the raid. Maybe you can give us a sort of a summary of it. But raids in Destiny are sort of, for a lot of people, the point.
Yeah.
And for me, I think they're the most exciting thing about it. They're the why you work to get these things. And
I think the last
really
one
traumatized
you.
Yeah. Well, I think my first experience with the raid with your team on PS4, the first game, was traumatizing because I was thrown into a group with
a lot of issues.
Well, with a lot of issues, and who had done it many times before. It was like a couple people who were pros. One person who was extremely like, I don't want to say bossy, but just like expected more, or maybe expected us to understand
I think
more.
she would accept bossy.
Yeah, bossy. And like a couple, like 3 totally oblivious players, and it was a nightmare.
Yeah,
but
so
an exciting, really fascinating nightmare.
I love raiding as much as anything. I love it as a social activity.
Yeah.
I've only lived in America for 3 years, and I've got kind of like it's a good little virtual set of friends I've got who I get to hang out with once or twice a week. Raiding on in Destiny 2 is a 6-man activity. It's a multi-encounter kind of dungeon, basically. I think there's four main encounters with these kind of like bridging sections between them. You're basically in this one trying to storm this enormous world, like literally world-eating ship, which has got a big palace on top of it.
Yeah, it's really
this
cool.
This palace I described, I think, before here. It looks like kind of Prince's last concert in space. It's all gold and purple. They're mechanically very complex in the sense that a lot of the encounters are almost like puzzle style. You have to be, your team of 6 has to be coordinated in terms of like what you're shooting at, when, where you're standing, activating mechanics and whatnot. It ends in a big kind of boss fight, so you have like DPS considerations to take into account. They're really fun. I think the first time you do it, a lot of people like to go in blind and not know any of the mechanics, so they can like learn it and discover it. I understand that, but if you do that, you're setting yourself up both for a lot of failure and probably an 8-hour experience in which you won't finish it.
Yeah.
So I would say, like, at least skim some guides. We have one up on the site today. It's on the front page. You can find it. There's plenty of videos out there in the wild as well, which will show you encounters being played. I think at least one person should go in with enough knowledge to give yourself a chance.
Yeah,
to
that's
finish
what I would
some of the
say.
encounters.
Yeah, if you want to go in blind, at least like hit the encounter and then look it up or something.
Yeah,
because there's some cool
especially
encounters.
if you get stuck. Because if you go like mentally down the wrong route of like, oh well, this is how we beat this bit, and you'll
be there
wrong,
for a long time.
You could be there for a substantial amount of time.
Long time.
And the first week I did it on PlayStation, we didn't get it done, and I was with a team who had run hundreds of raid completions in Destiny 1, like hundreds.
It's tough stuff. I mean, they're meant to be like very almost obtuse or like obscure and challenging.
So the one other thing I would say is
strange.
Don't jump into it yet today. Wait until Thursday because they're hot fixing the performance issue. So the performance issue, I'll just say this quickly and then we'll stop talking about this game. The performance issue is if you're in a clan, the game will keep trying to make calls to the server to pull up the clan list, and the clan list is bugged,
right? So
it never resolves it, and I think that creates I don't know if a memory leak's the right way to describe it, but it basically degrades performance over time. So if you're in the game for like a couple of hours, you'll see your frames will still you look in top right, either at the in-game one or the NVIDIA one, the frames will still be showing like 60, 80, 100 or whatever, but the on-screen effect will be very stuttery, very unpleasant. And you can fix it now just by restarting the app, but you don't want to go into the raid and have to suddenly have people going, oh, I need to restart mine now. That's going to suck. So wait for the hotfix tomorrow would be my advice. The loot will all still be there. It resets on Tuesday.
Cool. Yeah, I'm excited to play it again with club members. Our clan is filling up quickly and hopefully has a nice long life. I mean, at least the benefit of the PC's late release is that it'll be a shorter wait until some changes and what's it called? The Osiris.
It's called Curse of Osiris. It's going to have some new strike missions. New gear to collect. They mentioned new raid content. The very fact they phrased it that way, I think, can pretty much certainly tell you it's not a new raid. So I think the worst case scenario is they're going to put just some new loot in the current raid. The best case scenario is they're going to bring back the Vault of Glass raid from Destiny 1.
It's widely considered the best, right? Or one of.
It's definitely one of the. I think people have a little bit too much nostalgia for it because it was their first. You always remember your first time, and it was super cool in terms of atmosphere and stuff. So I'd be happy for it to come back, provided they switch up some of the encounters a little bit.
I mean, that would be especially nice for PC players.
I think people on PC would love it. The reason it's the one most likely to come back is it's themed around the Vex, which are the kind of robot enemies, and this is what the Curse of Osiris. He's lost in the Vex network. So, and I think even the trailer showed him. Him and his fire team ran the original raid on Vault of Glass.
Oh, that would make sense then thematically. Okay, cool.
So,
cool.
and I think that would be very well received, but it's a game I think we're going to keep covering on the site until enough of you tell me to stop.
Even then, it'll take a while. But Destiny 2. If you want to be part of our clan, you can join our club. We'll tell you how to do that later on. But okay, enough about this stupid space game. I want to talk about a different game, and it's been how long since the last Assassin's Creed, Chris? I think you reviewed the last one too, yeah?
I reviewed Syndicate. That was 2015.
2015. Wow, ages ago at this point.
Yeah, they took an extra year instead of doing an annual one. They took a year off,
Right on.
and they did make some changes. I'm not 100% on board with some of the changes they did, but I wound up really enjoying the game a lot. I think it's a really good game. I think it's one of the strongest ones they've made. Probably not as great as Black Flag, but I don't know, I enjoyed it probably at least as much.
Okay, but it's very different, and I don't think like until people could play it, they could really get a grip on what that is. And as far as I know, like I think the last headline before it came out we ran with was, like it or not, Assassin's Creed is an RPG now. And does that like hold true to you? Does it feel like a totally different game? What do those changes look like?
It doesn't really. I mean,
Okay.
There are RPG elements. I would say it didn't feel distinctly different. Like it wasn't like this reinvention of
Right.
Assassin's Creed. Like you don't make any real choices. You don't choose dialogue. I don't think anyone gets a different ending of the game. There's like skill trees and things like that. But it didn't feel, I mean, it felt like Assassin's Creed, just kind of a bit different than it's been. I wouldn't call it an RPG myself. I would still say, stealth action game.
Okay.
What's the new guy like as a character, Chris?
I kind of like him. He's got a very dark past, but he's not a big mopey drip. Like he's pretty lively. He's occasionally funny. Depending on who he's talking to. He's, I think, pretty charismatic, pretty charming. I enjoyed it. I think some of the dialogue is like, oh, wow, did he just really say that in ancient Egypt? Including my favorite line where he was interrogating someone and the guy gave him a little information and said, I don't give a shit. And
Agent.
my character said, shit giving is my job. It just seemed like not only like a weird thing to say today, but back in ancient Egypt. But no, for the most part, I liked him a lot. I thought he's a good character, interesting guy, and pretty well written, very well performed. I don't know the actor's name, but I enjoyed him. I thought he was enjoyable to spend a lot of time with.
And how about the setting? Because it's like the map is huge. Yeah,
it's huge. I mean, it's really. I kept having realizations like, wow, this is really huge. I don't know how it compares to other games, but it felt just massive. Just as one example, I probably played it a total of 45 hours now. I think I was about 35 hours when I finished the main quest. I'd done a bunch of side quests. I'd done a lot of freeform exploring. I'd done, this and that and this and that. And there were still probably, I would say, 6 or 7 regions that I hadn't even stepped foot in that were still dark on the map. And like I had to just to do it, I had to spend a lot of extra time just getting to these areas and stepping into them so the cloud would lift and I could see sort of what it was. I mean, it's really, really big. And you can fast travel. At times it feels, you're just zipping around, but if you want to go check out this desert in the south, and you actually have to go there and ride through it. It's just, there were several times I was like, this is just really big. This is a really big place, a really big sandbox that they built, and it's pretty amazing. And, there are some very heavily populated areas, but then there are these deserts that are just, you can just ride through and ride through and ride through. And like, it's kind of weird to say like there's nothing there, but I kind of enjoy that because it's a desert. And also, there's a little bit there. Like, I would recommend everyone take a long ride through a desert because while you're not going to see a bunch of icons on the map and a bunch of people throwing things at you and a bunch of animals, some things will happen out there that are kind of interesting.
Is there any sort of mechanic for like you like needing water when you're out in the desert or not wanting to be exposed to the too much sun?
No, but you are exposed to too much sun. At one point, I got off the horse and my guy was sort of like, he was not standing like he normally stands. He was a little, and when he's riding through, sometimes he'll cover his eyes or his face, and it's there if you look for it. I mean, you don't have to drink water ever.
Thank God.
But you can still see the effect being in a desert has on him in some little ways, which I think is pretty neat.
I want him to encounter like mirages.
Oh,
I'm not gonna say
that he does.
Yeah, I mean,
Mirage
you
confirmed.
see them.
Mirage confirmed.
You see them in general. In general, you see them if you're riding across like a very hot plain of desert. You can see like the shimmerings, but and there are other things. I would say spend some time in the desert.
How did it run on your PC, Chris? I've heard some talk that it's pretty intensive on the CPU.
I've heard that too. I mean, my performance was fine. I was getting probably 45 to 60 FPS pretty much all the time. I didn't have any noticeable issues, any big issues at all.
Okay.
We do have obviously this is just my one PC with a 980. Jared has a performance review on the site that he's continuing to add to. I would recommend everyone checking that out. And the review is just posted, and it's got a little bit about performance there, and a link to the larger piece that I think everyone should check out, because it does sound like people are having some issues. I didn't personally. I don't know. It ran pretty well for me.
I mean, that's PC gaming in a nutshell. Like anytime we write a review, if we don't have performance issues, there's outcry because someone has them.
My other half's been playing it in the same room as me. She's been enjoying it a lot. I just got a code for it today, so looking forward to.
This is
in.
I really want to play it myself because I don't know, from my limited time with it, just like you said, this big open world, just the fact that there's a fucking desert there for the sake of a desert being there. I don't know.
It's gorgeous.
It says like a dedication to setting.
Did you find, Chris, you didn't get that? You didn't get that. The thing when you look at a Ubisoft map and you feel overwhelmed by like the sheer amount of shit on it. Did you not get that, or is it still very much cut from that cloth?
I felt like they restrained. It felt more restrained than it has in the past. In fact, I think I mentioned in the review that there's a lot of stuff to do. If you're in the middle of a city and you're going somewhere, you're going to encounter things along the way, but it didn't feel bloated. It didn't feel like, sometimes there's a lot of, not a lot, but a little bit of stress, like, oh, there's 15 things around me and, should I do them? Should I skip them? There's a lot to do, a lot of different activities, but it didn't feel like you look at the map and it looks like someone just vomited a bunch of icons on it, as a lot of their games do. Part of that I think is because the crafting stuff is so minimal. You're not picking flowers. You're not, there's animal skins, there's wood, there's brass, but they're not everywhere. You're not constantly like walking around with your head down to look for stuff.
Has it got that like Far Cry mechanic of kill 10 alligators to make one pair of alligator boots and all that sort of stuff?
No, it's real minimal. It's like, and you're not even really crafting. It's like you have armor, you have bracers, you have the bag that you keep your bombs in, or where your darts in, and it's just you kill a few things and then you click on the thing and it goes up. It gets a little bit better. I thought about crafting like for the first 2 hours, and then I just didn't think about it again. And just every now and then a little icon will show on your screen like crafting available, and it'd be like you just click on the thing that you gathered enough stuff for to level up. And it wasn't anything that was on my mind for most of the game.
Cool.
It seems like they could have just left it out, honestly, but
not because it's so many. 2017, my friend.
Yeah, I guess you can't get a big crap down there. One thing about the world itself that I originally kind of cringed at was that the regions are kind of level specific. So if you're level 10 and you're in a region that's marked for like levels 8 through 10, like you're good. But then if you cross into like a level 20 through 25, like you shouldn't be there. You're going to die because anything in that region is going to be 10 levels above you. And I'm talking about like, a hyena is going to suddenly kill you. Not to say hyenas aren't dangerous, but what's the difference between a 5-level hyena and a 40-level hyena? It doesn't, like, to me, that doesn't really fit an open world type thing. It seems like an MMO thing, like where suddenly the the bat is a 50 level bat, and so
Do they take more damage, like, and stuff too? Like, so you can headshot a hyena, and it won't die.
I ran into this guard. I went into a level an area way over my head, and there was just this guard, and he's just like a shirtless guy with like a spear. Normally, in any other, in any zone that I'm appropriate for, this guy would not be a problem. I just like hacked and hacked and hacked at him, and it was like he lost like a tiny thing of health, and then he just like killed me outright. And it's like the kind of thing that I was originally like, oh, I'm not gonna like this at all, because I like open worlds where you can go, you can be anywhere, and yeah, maybe this area isn't great because there's death claws or there's giant hideous monsters. But I think if I can kill a hyena in one part of the world, I should be able to kill a hyena in any part of the world. It's just a hyena, or it's just a guard. He's not going to be some Superman. So initially I was like, I think this might really kill this for me. But to be honest, it didn't. It never really did. I don't care for it, but I didn't find myself like so bored in the areas that I could handle that I felt this urge to like rush into all the other areas as soon as I could.
Would you prefer they just locked you out of those zones?
No, I don't think so. No, that would really piss me off. Don't ever lock me out. Don't lock me out of an open world and open them later.
What the old GTA one? It was always the bridges.
Oh yeah, bridges are always down at GTA.
You can still go to these areas. You just got to be really, really careful that you don't encounter anything that's going to try to kill you. So, you could sneak in. There were times I'm like, you know what, I want to go over and see this part of the world. And you got to be careful. And if you get caught, you're dead. But there's enough to do, I feel like, as I'm leveling up in you do have a lot of areas you can still visit. And obviously once you're kind of, level 20 or 30, going back into like a level 5 to 7, like you're a badass, and that's kind of fun too. So I think the world itself is big enough, and as you kind of level up, there's enough to do and there's enough to see and enough to explore that didn't really bother me as much as I kind of expected. I was kind of like,
see, I like that feeling of being able to go back to an area when you're then overpowered and really just like act like the big man, just fucking walking around like
with your
it is kind of fun. It is kind of fun. I'm like level 35 or something now, and I went back to catch up on some quest I missed, and everyone there was like level 1, and I was like, oh, this is ridiculous.
You never really get that power boost in Destiny. Like if you go back to patrol, like the little dudes, the little dreg dudes do the same. They scale with you, so they do the same amount of damage as they always did. The only thing that changes is you've got like better gear, so
might be more efficient. Or
so you can like blow them up with better guns. But like I've always missed that a little bit. That you want that idea of being able to crush certain content once you hit a particular point. But I guess the counterpoint is then tons of content would just become facile and you wouldn't give a shit about it.
Yeah, that's true. I do have a question about this open world, because I wonder, with all these new systems like animals and all these guards and there's a ton of civilians.
I saw Chris petting Egyptian cats.
Yeah, all sorts of animals, and you have all these kind of new, I don't know if they're new abilities, but the skill tree allows you to do some pretty wild stuff. Do you feel like you had like more wacky shenanigans in this Assassin's Creed than before?
I feel like the game's always kind of been a little wacky. You can it always seemed like maybe you're stealthing around and something goes wrong and there's some sort of comical situations. And there are a lot of I did have a lot of laughs in this game because there are a lot of different kind of systems and physics and that can give you kind of unexpected little moments. One of my favorite, in fact, my favorite skill that you can unlock when you're using this particular bow with this skill, you can fire an arrow, and as soon as you fire it, you can control it in midair in slow motion.
Of course.
It's not quite bullet time, but it's slow enough that you can really steer this thing, around cover or, over a tree and put it into someone's head. It's great for me.
In what world do arrows change trajectory mid-flight?
Shh, let it happen. It's okay.
Well, I can also see through an eagle's eyes sometimes. So, yeah, I guess it's a bit of a magical ability type of thing, but I don't care if it makes sense. It helps me kill people, and I'm not very good at killing people in general. So at this one point, I was invading this bandit camp, and I shot my first arrow at this bandit. It hit him in the back. He turned around, and I shot my second one. And just as I was shooting the second arrow, he threw a firebomb at me. And so my arrow's going in slow motion. His firebomb's going in slow motion. They pass in midair. The firebomb explodes, which then sets my arrow on fire, and then hits him right between the eyes. And I was like, oh, thank you, because he had enough health left to survive this arrow, but since it was on fire from his own firebomb, it killed him. And then the next bandit I turned to shoot at, and again, my arrow, this time it flew over. There was like a lit brazier or torch or something on the wall. So that one caught on fire just by passing by the fire. I lined up another shot at that guy, but he had been killed. So I just turned my arrow in midair and went to a different target and killed him. So it's like this great thing for someone like me who really needs some help aiming, and just be able to like, oh, that guy's dead who I've already shot at. He's dead. I'll just turn this arrow and kill someone else.
Just like, yeah, just do a quick like U-turn and find someone else.
And there is, when I first started playing, it was like, because I had set something on fire and it was kind of, I don't know, felt like an uninspired fire. I remember Ubisoft was the king of fire with Far Cry 2. It's like this amazing thing. And at first I was a little underwhelmed, but then as you kind of play, you can see like their fire is still pretty great. If you set something on fire in a village, like a, I don't know, patch of hay or something, like people actually run over and put it out. They'll try to put it out like this. And if like I was just standing there with a torch out, next to someone, and he's like, oh, and he starts walking away, and he's got like smudges of soot on him, and I wasn't trying to burn him. I was just standing there like a dick with a torch in his face, because you don't think about that. You don't think about that you're actually doing things in the world. You wouldn't hold a torch right next to some guy's ear.
That seems like quite a polite reaction to being actually set on fire.
Yeah. It's pretty nice.
Yeah. Well, if you do it to an enemy, they get very, very angry. But their citizens just seem sort of like, excuse me, you're kind of hurting me with your...
They're more chill about it.
And then there's when things go wrong, too. A lot of these, not a lot, but several of these missions, you go in to rescue someone in a fort or something. And I think it's to prevent you from just, like, running in at full speed, interacting with the person and running out and avoiding all conflict. What they do is typically the person is injured and you have to put them over your shoulders and carry them out. So it makes you engage in some stealthy way. Syndicate did this a lot too. I felt like I always had a guy over my shoulders. So I was in this fort and I was carrying someone out on my shoulders, and we came to this, we were like up on a balcony or something, and there was a ladder down. I know I can't climb a ladder with a guy on my shoulders, but I thought I could still like jump off with a guy on my shoulders. Instead, so I hit the jump button. Instead, my character dumps this guy off the balcony onto the bricks, and then does the classic Assassin's Creed swan dive because there was a bale of hay down there. Meanwhile, I could have dropped the guy in the hay. I dropped him on the bricks like a foot from the hay, and then did the classic swan dive in safely, and I was like, oh, what a dick move. I just felt so bad for this poor person. Like I could have dropped him in the hay. I could have carried them with me into the hay. But it's hilarious. So there's that little goofiness that comes from these things either working really well in surprising ways or sometimes just not working.
And it still has some of the boat stuff, right? Not as much as Black Flag, obviously, but there's some ship to ship stuff, right?
They're self-contained. During the main quest, there's like 3 very self-contained big boat combat sequences that are great. It kind of makes me wish, like at any point, you could just go get on a big boat and go have some fun, because it is really exciting and fun. You've got flaming arrows and fire bombs. You can ram other ships. There's a great thing where when they shoot flaming arrows at you, if you take cover at the right time, you can spring back up and have your guys fire back their arrows. So there's like this awesome back and forth of flaming arrows and everything's on fire. And that's fun. It's really fun. It is like sort of contained along the main quest line. So it's not something you do kind of whenever you want.
I do have one final question. Is the Abstergo stuff or stupid as hell? The future sci-fi
But
stuff.
there's so little of it.
Oh, really?
There's so little of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the percentage ratio of like sweet Egyptian stuff to shitty Abstergo modern stuff?
There's almost no absurd. There, I think there was like 4 times maybe you kind of have to jump into the future. Like again, along with crafting, like I don't know why it's in there. I think it's in there. I guess people must like it, or if they didn't put it in there, people would be unhappy. I don't know. I don't like the future stuff at all. I could do without it, but there's so little of it that it didn't even really matter.
That's
so
good.
I was very happy with it.
That's good. Well,
yeah.
You can go read Chris's full thoughts on the game on our review, pcgamer.com/reviews, and you liked it quite a bit, and that's really nice for me to hear because that's another series I've kind of backed off of for a while.
And also, like, I feel like prequels in general,
it is
pop
prequel
culture, not just. I feel like they're it's kind of tough. You've got all this existing information that you probably feel, oh, we got to reference, these 900 things. But I feel like it's pretty. They did it pretty well, and it was actually generally. I was pretty pumped just to like witness the birth, the origin. It's called Origins, and it was like, this is kind of cool. I'm seeing the origin of Assassin's Creed. They do say the word creed a few too many times and very heavily. So it's not perfect, but I was actually like, this is pretty cool. I'm seeing the birth of the Assassin's Creed. It was kind of cool. So good job to them for staying, I would say, pretty restrained with that stuff.
Where would you like to see them go next, Chris?
Good question.
Do you think they'll be back next year? Do you think it's back to being an annualized thing now?
I don't know. That's a great question. I would think, I don't know. It'd probably depend. I don't know. Yeah, I have no idea. Next, I don't know where would be a great place to go next.
What do they do when they run out of like locations? Because I feel like they've hit most. They've yet to do a big Japan one, right?
I mean, there's a level of modernity at which it just doesn't really work. Like you can't do like Assassin's Creed Vietnam, I would imagine, or
oh god, no.
Don't know. Like when does it stop feeling like history and start feeling too
Far
much?
Cry, or excuse me, Assassin's Creed, Montana. Far Cry crossover. Trout fishing.
I'm not feeling it.
No? Okay. I'm not either.
Stabbing the fish with your finger. No.
Yeah, we'll see. People have been clamoring for a Japan one for a long time, so that's potential.
That could be cool.
India.
That would be pretty cool.
Right? There's plenty of places to go left, I guess. But any closing thoughts, Chris, on this Creed, on the origins, on Egypt?
I don't think so. I'm going to put together some video clips for tomorrow that will show some of the stuff I talked about, the flaming arrows, the dropping the man on his head, some stealth misfires, and other entertaining bits of video that I captured along the way.
Cool.
Because it was not a very smooth ride. I'm not a very good stealthy person, which kind of makes it satisfying when I do a really good stealth mission.
You're the ideal person to play these kind of games, honestly, because these games are at their best when you fumble and have to escape.
It's a fun.
React.
I think making failure fun is probably one of the most important thing a game can do, and this makes failure pretty fun. And I fail often.
Sounds good for me then too. With that, we're gonna move on to Twitch chat Q&A. Now that we've talked about the only games coming out this year. So if you have a question for us about video games, any game we've talked about today, any game coming out, anything that's happened in video games past or future, tag us in Twitch chat at PC Gamer with that question. We do have a few we got from our Discord, our PC Gamer Club Discord earlier today. If you want to get your question answered, pretty much guaranteed, you can join our PC Gamer Club and do that at club.pcgamer.com. You get some cool stuff, ad-free experience on the site. You get an invite to our Discord server. You get free game a month. You get access to beta keys whenever we get them, which is quite often. You get a digital subscription to PC Gamer magazine. You get a free RPG handbook. There's a lot going on for like $5 a month. So we appreciate it if you join. We got more on the way. Come to the club too. So
hang out with us all the time.
Yeah,
forever.
yeah. And if
like,
you
like in the hotel in The Shining, just come and live with us.
and it's Tim as twins saying, "Come play with us." But
Well, I'm
it's
Delbert
Destiny.
Grady in this analogy.
Oh, are you okay?
Yeah.
All right.
Talking to you politely but awkwardly in the bathroom. That's me.
I can see it. But yeah, we do need more people to join us for the raid in Destiny. So, you do get to join our clan if you join the club. That's probably the best thing about it. You get to play Destiny with Tim and I, which is, gosh, it's like watching pros at work. Yeah. Let's open up with some of the questions we got in the Discord earlier today. Buttface Jones, always number one. First question is not a question. It's just BlizzCon in all caps. Yeah, BlizzCon's happening, and we have people on the ground. We're gonna have someone on the ground. We got coverage planned.
Bo's going to be there. The opening ceremony happens on Friday. I think it starts at like probably 10 a.m. Pacific time. Work out what that is for yourselves. And we're expecting, I think, pretty big things. You're looking at the list of panels. There's new stuff for Overwatch, Hearthstone, a new expansion will almost certainly be announced. World of Warcraft, some pretty big news coming down the pike also, and then I think bits and bobs as well for StarCraft and Heroes of the Storm. So I expect it to be a busy one. We'll have a ton of stuff on the site on Friday, no doubt.
Cool.
I'm looking forward to the Hearthstone bit personally, of course.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear what they got to say. Real quick interlude. Jules M, who's a Discord mod and has been for a while, Twitch channel mod too. 12 months with us. 12-month subscription. So
I've always wanted to say
1 year.
Thanks for the 12-month resub, like a proper streamer.
Thanks for the 12-month resub, Jules.
Yeah, appreciate it.
We love having you around, man. He had a follow-up question, Buttface Jones. Now that Halloween is finally behind us, can you talk about upcoming Christmas content?
Is Jules actually, or is Buttface actually our boss? Like,
It sounds
I feel like those are the questions I normally get asking me.
I think by content he means games, though. What games will give us Santa hats and snow maps this year? PUBG, Quake. What else is coming out? We got Call of Duty soon. This Friday.
Next year.
Far Cry's next year.
Does he mean like which games are going to have cool Christmas events?
It's
I
not.
think so.
Yeah. Maybe PUBG get some snow.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Does TF2 still do stuff?
I bet they do a community thing.
Stuff.
I know. Wait, Destiny 2, didn't they announce they're doing Christmas thing? Their festival. What do they call it?
They're going to have like snowballs and stuff.
Yeah, it sounds pretty dumb, but hey, it's cute.
In Hearthstone, they had a thing. It wasn't called Festivus because that's the Seinfeld thing, but it was called something non-denominational like that, and they put snow on everything as well. So I imagine there'll be some of that.
Yeah. 1v1 me, Destiny 2 snowball fight. See ya there.
Hearthstone's event stuff is really strong at the moment. They've got this Hallow's End event happening at the moment, which is obviously Halloween themed, but they change up the emotes when an event is on, and the emote BM meta, which BM is for bad manners, is more interesting than actually the deck thing, because like some heroes are particularly like enraging when you say Happy Halloween to each other. It sounds like so smug that like you get a few requests.
Can't really avoid it
after spamming those.
Can't really avoid it.
I think GTA Online does things
they typically
for
do.
Christmas, too.
Yeah, so there's going to be a lot, I'm sure.
Didn't Hitman used to be good for it as well? Didn't it? I remember Hitman having a good trade in like
Didn't they do Santa? They got to do a Santa suit thing.
I mean, definitely in one of the older Hitmans there was a Santa-themed level, but I might be imagining it.
Real quick before the next question, Jules, I'm sorry you got one-upped, man. Also, I want to issue a formal apology. Has Muffins resubscribed for 13 months in a row and said, "What's love got to do with it? You missed my 12 months." So my bad. Also, thanks for the
13-month resub.
I wish we had like a cool graphic, pew, and some kind of call sign. I don't know. Yeah, thanks for hanging out. Back to these questions. Janrin in our club asks, how long do you think it will take before the current high-end setups become irrelevant? So I'm not a hardware expert, but high-end setups means
James, nor am I.
1080s and so on.
I'd like them to. I like the hardware boys to answer it, but I think irrelevant is a strong word. Like irrelevant would be a matter of years, right?
I answer this question because I don't think they'll be irrelevant for a long time. Yeah. If you mean like not able to play like cutting edge games at 4K, then probably within a couple years. Like that
I mean, the
turnaround on
bigger
that is
question
quick.
might be like, at what point do you feel like you'll actually need to own one of the current like high-end CPUs? Because I feel like whenever Jared reviews them, he sort of says, "Wow, this is really powerful and a great deal. You don't really need it."
Yeah. I mean, like that's the question, because CPUs are sort of they've reached a plateau that you don't really need them until a game.
The caveat is always like, oh yeah, if you want to like run like video rendering at the same
Yeah.
time, I'm like, I barely use like Word.
Yeah, pretty much. So GPUs though, my made up time interval is like 5 years. Like that's when I typically want a new card or really feel like I need one.
You know,
But
someone's already making that Reddit post saying,
Oh, God.
that idiot on PC Gamer
PC
doesn't
gamers.
only upgrades his GPU every 5 years.
hey, I can't afford it. I can't. But next question, Silent Marine. Favorite Halloween themed content in a video game? You guys can think of an update. I'm like over the hump, so I've ejected it all from my mind.
Doing that is quite a new thing, isn't it? Like actually having.
I mean, I've always liked TF2s, at least in the past. I know they always like sometimes bring in a boss character to fight, and it's a wacky, good old time, but it's been a while since I really played that. Destiny, the original Destiny, you could give you masks and made you trick or treat.
Yeah, I normally would
silly.
answer Destiny, but I thought that sucked, that event.
Yeah, it was pretty dumb.
Yeah.
Chris, any favorite Halloween content?
Nothing comes to mind. I think didn't TF2 have like some kind of giant pumpkin-headed?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking
monster you
of.
had to
There was a big
kill?
boss a couple years back.
Yeah,
That was fun.
That was at least kind of interesting.
It's very novel for the time to like have a boss for holiday. But yeah, I mean, I wish we could answer that one better. But I don't really tend to get too excited about that kind of stuff. A personal question, we get to kind of toot our own horn here. Akar asks, what are some of the games that influenced you guys to become full-time writers? Were you influenced by games to write, first of all?
Yeah. Shall I go?
Yeah, go for it.
I wouldn't say there was like a particular game where I sort of like played it and went, I must now immediately set my put my thoughts down on what would have then been paper because I'm so old. But I would say like the games that kind of like really like captured my imagination when I was young was I actually didn't have a computer because my parents refused initially to get me one. A friend of mine had a BBC Micro, which is a computer that ran BASIC, and I used to go around to his house to play specifically Elite and a game called Exile, which was a sci-fi like puzzle sort of game,
Right.
which we were terrible at. It was like I've said this to Evan before, like you set down on a planet, you're abandoned, like your ship has crashed, it's like side scroll, but like almost in those days the equivalent of open world. It had this huge area you could explore, side scroll, and you there was like gravity, a bit like thrust, and you would pick up like a vase that you could fill with stuff, and you would transport the stuff, and we couldn't get out of the opening area. Like we would play this game for like days at a time without getting out of the opening area, and we just like trying stuff out. There was a bird I remember that would fly in, like a space bird, and that would kill us. And like we were young kids, like, you know, single digits. We had no idea what we were doing, and we were just obsessed with this game. And likewise with Elite, we would play on the keyboard, like where one of us would pilot and one of us would shoot, and we'd take it in turns. And that fantasy, I'm sure, like I think Elite had an unbelievable impact on like my generation anyway, in terms of people
Definitely.
thinking about, like, you know, a lot of the stuff we try and do, I think, on PC Gamer, or some of the more interesting stuff we do about sort of like emergent storytelling about, you know, things. You know, Chris is a great proponent of it, like telling the stories of interesting things that happen in games. Elite was one of those games that really lent itself to that. You would be like, you know, it was all text based. You'd be going like you're transporting, like, you know, might be narcotics, might be like farm supplies, or it might be prostitutes. You would have all these like. It was so evocative, just the names of the planets and the brief descriptions of them, that you genuinely felt, even though it was vector graphics, that you were kind of like, you know, pirating your way around the galaxy. So I think like I wouldn't trace it to any one particular game, but like those I think were the formative experiences that meant I knew even early on that I was going to want to play games till I couldn't anymore. And I don't feel like I'm 40 now. I don't feel any different. Like games are as exciting to me now as they were as a little kid.
Yeah, I mean, same boat. Chris, do you have a very inspirational story about your origins as a games writer? Make sure it's inspirational.
I was writing before I was really playing games and writing about games, but once I kind of started doing both, it just felt like such a natural fit. You know, Half-Life 2 was big for me personally because I created a webcomic using Gary's mod based on Half-Life 2, which was which was a big project, and also Elder Scrolls Oblivion. It was the first time I'd really done a kind of journal type thing. I just started a blog about playing Oblivion as if I were an NPC and not having adventures, just like, trying to find a little job and pick flowers and sell them and see if I could actually live in the world as just a minor character. And I think both of those things were kind of the start of me kind of enjoying, games in maybe a different way, or trying to play them a different way, or saying, hey, can I take this adventure game and play it without an adventure, and will that be something people will actually want to read? So games like that, games that give you the option, games that don't care how you play them, basically, I think any of those are great for inspiring you to tell your own story and write about it.
Cool. I don't have a big origin story. I just love to write, and I also love video games, and it seems like a natural fit.
I wanted you to say COD.
COD. It was COD. No, I mean, back in the day, like, the games that really sort of got me interested in games, which led to, me considering it as like a profession, is like the Orange Box. Those, Half-Life 2 and Portal and TF2 has got me playing on the PC and melted my graphics
you
card.
Are like 10 years later writing about memes.
I know. I was listening to PC Gamer, and now I write about memes for a job. It's great. We got one more from our Discord. What if I was? How much do you guys care about the small quality of life settings in games? I really appreciate developers including a lot of extra options under the gameplay tab in settings. An example would be I use a PS4 controller, and if I'm using a controller on PC, he likes to have the button prompts from the PS4 controller in there. Or another example is like a third option for subtitles that gives you an option for only having subtitles and cutscenes. What are your? I think a better question might be is, I think we all appreciate those things. What is your sort of must-have? Do you guys have a must-have menu option?
I found myself changing the other day the reticle color in Destiny to, like, I tried green and red, and I was so used to white that it like really freaked me out. Like I had to switch it back immediately. Like I was like, what am I looking at?
This has got thousands of hours.
I read some other players saying like, oh, it's much better. It stands out better against the background. But I was like, I can't come this far and change. I think games that let you out tab to something else without freaking out. Like,
definitely.
I don't think that's in the settings, but like just ones that cope without tabbing is probably my single most
a nice
important
borderless full screen kind of setting, that's a seamless one.
I appreciate when the music volume slider is preset to like 70% instead of 100%, because pretty much the first thing I do in every fucking game I play is turn down the music, because it's usually too loud. It's often not great, not terrible, but I find it distracting when there's too much music. So
especially
I'm always when I see that it's not been set to 100 by the developer, I'm like, oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
Especially if you're going to be in a game like Assassin's, Chris, where you might spend like 20, 30 hours goofing around in there. Like, I don't care how good that orchestral soundtrack is. No fucking way do you want to hear that 30 hours here. Da, 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 we're chasing the guy on the horse. Like, no.
The camel theme.
I just want to hear the hoofs and the whisper of the sand on the wind.
And Metallica in the background, because you're running Spotify.
Maybe a little Linkin Park.
Something like that. Exactly. The best gaming music. I don't really have one. Like, if you give me an FOV slider that lets me zoom out a little bit, I get really sick. I'm good.
Biscuit.
But that's it. Well, okay. All right. Had to go there. Thanks for the questions, Discord people. Let's move down the Twitch questions now. The Monster with a Z. Another hardware question I cannot answer. Think the i7 8700K Coffee Lake will be available this month? I don't know.
Ask Jared. Make Jared come.
Hit up Jared. He's on Twitter, and or just harass him in the comments.
He's reviewing the 1070 Ti tomorrow.
Something like that, I think so. So he's on top of all that stuff. It's fun being in meetings, because we understand hardware like on a fairly basic level. We know how to use it. We know how to build computers. But Jared is like, oh my god, it's like he's speaking another language. And
he should have a show. He should have a show where it's Jared and people just ask him questions, because he's crazy smart.
Yeah, he's basically our living Wikipedia.
If people want it, we'll do a hardware special and have Jared just
questions
for half an hour.
We totally should. let's go back up here. We got there was a good one from Battle Tank 09. Going back to an earlier conversation, what is the scariest video game enemy mechanics wise? So we talked about earlier, it's not always the appearance that makes video game monsters scary. It's like how they behave and sort of the situation. I have one immediately on my mind. No, in Amnesia: The Dark Descent, I think the water monster is probably good both ways, because there's a sequence where you're in like a flooded basement and the water's sort of up to your ankles, maybe a little deeper, and there's an invisible monster down there. So that works for me because it leaves a lot to the imagination. But mechanics wise, as long as you're in the water, it can hear you. So you're listening for its position based on like where you can hear it splashing about, and you're kind of leaping between these like physics objects kind of floating in the water. And it's a really tense like set piece that, I don't know, it sticks with me today, especially because you have to like open the doors manually and slam them behind you, and it's tedious maybe, but it's I think it works in a horror game where you're playing a fumbly human.
I got two for you.
Go for it.
One, playing the Slender Man game, which sucked in the dark, fucked me up. Like I couldn't play it. Like it was really upsetting to me. And all it was just like this white character that would suddenly appear, but like you would be like picking like notes off trees and stuff, and you knew the fucking guy was coming up behind you.
There's a reason horrible. That game was a phenomenon. It was like a small freeware game, but like it was simple.
Yeah.
And
is it just called Slender?
I think just Slender. Yeah. Like when I was teaching high school, we played that in class, and my kids were like, they all knew about it. They all played it. They all loved it. Like they knew about this stuff before I did. They all
committed copycat murders.
Yeah. Oh god.
Bad time.
Slender's a good call. You got another one?
Yeah, God Rest Their Souls Visceral. In Dead Space 2, it's not really like, I wouldn't say I was frightened, but it was just horrible. The bit where you had to perform eye surgery on yourself, like against the clock. And if you get it wrong, it like punches a needle through your eye, like a mad giant needle. That was rough.
Yeah, it was pretty nasty.
Yeah, really good.
Chris, any contributions?
I think in Stalker, there are these dogs out in the world. Stalker's a very tense game. You're tense all the time. Daylight, midnight, underground, above ground. You just feel like tense constantly. And there was something great about the irradiated wild dogs, because they didn't always attack you. Sometimes they would just run around. You could see them a long way away. You could hear them. They would bark. They would get up and run around. When you got close, they would run towards you. They wouldn't always attack you. Sometimes they'd circle you. Sometimes they'd run away. Sometimes and it drives you crazy, because in Stalker you've got limited ammo usually. You don't want to use a bullet unless you have to, and so you don't want to shoot a dog unless it attacks you, but you're not sure if it's going to attack you. And like I love the behavior of a thing where you don't know what it's going to do. I feel like most games like have, it's like a binary reaction. You attack you or don't attack you, and you know something will attack you or you know it won't. And this was like, it could be either way. And I think that kind of indecision and that hesitation on this creature's part was like such a great thing that I wish more games had. I wish not every hyena would attack me, because every hyena wouldn't attack me. And frankly, a hyena sitting there staring at me or running around me in circles where I don't know what it's going to do. I think that can, maybe it's not horror, but it's certainly a lot of tension. And that's something I really loved about Stalker.
Do you think if you had to, Chris, in real life, you could kill a hyena with a sword?
No.
What? Why not? Just fucking swing it at him.
I could hit a hyena with a sword. I don't think I could kill a hyena with a sword.
Assume the sword is very sharp.
No, a hyena would kill me. It's a hyena. It's a wild animal, and I'm a.
The worst is like you'd just badly cut one of its shoulders, and it would be so angry at that point.
Yeah. That's probably exactly what would happen. I'd just make it angrier.
Okay. Yeah. Well, good monster contributions. Those are all great ones. DJ Bruce asks, thoughts on PUBG leaving early access in December. Or did you already talk about it? We did not talk about it, but yeah, it's coming out, and I didn't quite catch up with the news, but I think the desert map is coming with it. Is that right?
Yeah, the desert map and vaulting are part of 1.0. Yeah,
right on. thoughts on that? Like, do you think it's ready? Do you?
I haven't played enough, or
Right.
I haven't really played it at all, so I don't really have any thoughts on like what it means for the state of the game. I did actually watch some of the IEM Oakland qualify this weekend.
Oh yeah.
To see kind of how it was shaping up as an esport, and I know Evan and I have talked about this quite a bit, and I was like shocked by like how far I felt like it had to go to be really like a viable watching experience. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe there's other streams that do it well better than this one, but this was an ESL one, so I assume it's kind of like the standard. But that their methodology of kind of like it being pretty zoomed out and you seeing these like little outlined guys just, you know, conducting ambushes from a distance, it didn't really work for me as a visual thing. So I'd be keen to see like where that side of things goes next.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah.
I'm kind of getting to this point where like I don't really care much about if something is early access or 1.0. Like I don't really know what that really even means anymore. Like just because they say, hey, 0.0, like what does that really mean to the average person? Games after launch still get supported, they still get worked on, they still get
like in what sense isn't
attention
it out
and
now?
updates. What's that?
In what sense isn't it out now? It was like
I mean it's out. It's been people have been playing for months, and I understand like people are hoping for improvements and bug fixes and the experience to get better. Like I get that, but I don't. This turning over of we're not in early access anymore. Now we're a full release. That particular milestone doesn't feel like
meaningful.
I don't
Well,
really,
I mean, yeah,
don't
look
really
at-
know why that's aligned.
If you look at Arc, for example, that was in early access for like what 2 years, something like that, and its 1.0 release came with a lot of things, but it didn't like mean the performance was suddenly perfect, or it didn't mean that you know the UI was 100% different, or the experience was somehow like it just felt complete. It's still this big kind of messy sort of thing that was built over time, like in public scrutiny and sort of influenced in real time. And I think PUBG is maybe a smaller version of that, but when it does come out, it probably won't feel like a significantly different thing, and it probably won't be perfect performance wise. And it probably won't feel like a 1.0 game in every which way, but I think I don't know. It is still this thing that you can have a lot of fun with and can be be a competitive platform and can be all these things. And like the label at this point for certain games, in particular in early access, I don't know. It's just like Chris said, it's lost meaning to me in some respects. But I don't think most games ever feel like they can't be made a little bit better. Sure,
even when they're out. And I don't know. We'll see. I mean, in terms of like a new map coming, I think that's exciting. And for vaulting and climbing, I got to try both of those in a sort of work in progress state when I went to South Korea to see the game last month, September, 2 months ago.
Wow.
So I think that is exciting, and that being part of 1.0, I think is kind of a big deal. But in terms of something like kind of coming out of early access, I don't know. They spend so much time in early access, it feels like it's not necessarily a monumental difference at this point.
I'm excited about it. I'm glad that it can be part of our. I mean, I think we were considering it for a game with your discussion anyway, because so many people playing it, but it officially can enter the races. We'll take one more question. I got time for maybe one more. Static Smoke 1 asks, have there been any murmurings about DICE's next project after Battlefront? I miss the fast-paced style of BF 3 and 4 compared to BF 1 and Battlefront. Well, that's your opinion, man. I am curious. Do you guys think so? We had DICE went back to World War One. It was like kind of a World War One, World War Two hybrid dealio with some of that technology in the game. And Call of Duty's World War II. Do you feel like this is going to stick? We're kind of stay at old war time stuff for a bit?
I think that game was so successful. I'll be amazed if there isn't just a straight follow-up to it. I think that's what EA do. If something sticks, then they'll look to land another one.
I agree. I like Battlefield 1 a lot. So we'll see how Call of Duty...
What would be called Battlefield 2?
Oh my god. It's too confusing, though. Because Battlefield 2 is my favorite Battlefield.
Does it say its game's finally run out of numbers?
It's too much. I I don't know, Chris. What do you guys think they should do? Like, because I don't know, like how many times you can iterate on what they've done already without shifting setting, like Pacific Theater stuff, or like maybe they shift to a different part of the world.
I don't care. And
Okay.
let me say why. It's the personal reason. It's not because it isn't a good game or that people shouldn't enjoy it. I've recently had this thing where I just like don't want to play anything that's based on like World War II or World War One.
Why is this?
Because I think I've like consumed so much culture over the course of like my 40 years on the planet about those wars. I've reached a point where like I know enough about them to just think they were so horrendous that I don't want to consume any of it as entertainment, and not in a kind of like, don't know, like it's weird. It was just for the same reason I didn't go and see Dunkirk, even though like it got like rave reviews. I just didn't want to consume anything to do with the war that was not just like, look how fucking terrible all of the war was.
I mean, I
know it's like inconsistent with the other games
Right.
I play and the things I'm interested in, but like
well, I think it's like one of the more obvious like issues with entertainment and in its depiction of history. It's because it's like a very popular thing because it was very recent and very influential. It was the fucking world.
Yeah.
Right. So
I'm not saying, by the way, either like I think other people shouldn't enjoy those games
Sure.
or that those games shouldn't be made. I'm just saying, me personally, as soon as I see anything to do with World War II now, it just depresses
to me, they are morally troubling. I mean, like back in college, I took a lot of Holocaust lit classes, and now I'm an expert on Holocaust. No, I'm not. But it's enough to like, I don't know. I personally feel with those wars not depicting the atrocities and not like being not even just like the fact that you're earning points is like, or like having, you know, it's treated as entertainment and a competition. A paintball game is like inherently disrespectful and inherently troubling to me.
I don't even know where the line is. I don't know if there's some like historical statute of limitations where like once this ticks over, then this war's all right. It's all right. This war's
right.
fine
I
now.
mean,
like,
and that's what's
like, are you all right with like, you know, doing the Falklands if you're English, or if like, you know, there's been a number of games based on Vietnam, and I know some people were a bit like felt they were a bit icky when it was like a spate, wasn't it? There was like kind of
Right.
5 Vietnam games came out, you know.
I don't know. It's just like what troubles me is like, oh my God, what are we doing? Welcome to democracy now.
I've somehow gone into like a war discussion.
But I worry. It worries me because I don't know how much of the history will just be like lost or misconstrued over the years, because these are the big monuments that people look to.
So what you're saying is you are
people.
literally worried about the children.
I'm worried about the kids, man.
Yeah.
I've turned into like my dad when I was a teen. So I don't know. We'll see. Maybe we're fine. Maybe we're just.
I think I prefer when stuff
Sun
does
will
it in that
swallow us.
Wolfenstein way of like taking a bit more of like a wild, broad take on it, but probably still has more interesting things to say generally.
I mean, yeah, it's an absurd take that distances itself from like the actual events, but takes on a lot of like the themes and fallout from the events.
I felt this as well, like way back in when I remember like covering like do you remember the Medal of Honor one that was the jungle one?
Oh yeah, barely.
I can't remember what it was called.
I remember.
Rising Storm, I want to say. No, that's not right. I feel like I had a Rising in it. But I remember speaking to a developer at EA way back when then, and saying like, all right, not now, but in like 10 or 15 years, you're going to have to assume that games will be able to like render people's faces and experiences, like with all, not experiences, but people's like visually, the fidelity, it's on a long enough timeline, the fidelity of video games is going to get like almost like 1-for-1 with TV. And at that point, like, do you feel like, you know, the closer you get to that, the more awkward this discussion is going to become about like what's all right to show. Like you've seen, there's been loads of this discussion actually this week about stuff coming out from Sony's show at Paris Games Week, where they put out a couple of trailers that were one for Last of Us 2 and one for that game
2.
Detroit, which certainly generated a lot of discussion about like, you know, violence used as marketing and whatnot.
Right.
I sound like a real bleeding heart. Like I play like horrendously violent games.
I get it. I mean,
with it, but
I've been playing World War games for years, and I feel like maybe those like early blockier, more like abstract models, like it was sort of like a distance enough, like it was like it was like army men almost. But now in Battlefield 1, you can like see the whites of the eyes in the guy as you bayonet him, and it's like,
you know, when you're watching stuff like what is it, Private Ryan, you know, and like, that guy's having like that knife really slowly
it's that on repeat.
I don't want to do that. I don't want to like do that as a quick time event or whatever.
No.
You know what I mean? Oh, I'm really jamming it. The hilt's in now. Jesus, I'm getting the
yeah.
rumble
Do you feel
feedback.
empathy? No, I don't. I feel like I won.
I like shooting aliens. Fuck aliens. Killing orcs. I like I think maybe the worse the world gets, the more I like fantasy in games.
Yeah, maybe that's it. It's a complex thing for sure.
That said, I would love a really ultra realistic Hitman type first person game.
I'd be into that.
Yeah,
I'd be into that.
Yeah. Chris, any thoughts on the war?
I think maybe we just need to have a new world war, and that way we can get some new game content.
I've got good news. I've got good news for you on that front.
Oh, do you?
I got something brewing for you.
Would you be interested in a strategy game where you had to prep your house for some sort of like incipient either nuclear or conventional war against the time limit, and you had to like buy?
I played something like that.
You had to buy like white paint to put on the windows to stop the blast, and you had to like make a bunker. Maybe that'd be sweet.
Yeah, it'd be fun. That'd be really fun.
Like I played a game like that where you had 60 seconds. It wasn't quite like that. You had 60 seconds to search your house for stuff and then get into a bunker and then try to survive off the stuff that you found in 60
but see,
seconds.
that sounds just more like a clicker game. I'm talking more of like a strategic, like you're the prepper. You've got like, maybe there'd be like a build-up phase where you were like earning money to buy shit, like your bunker.
Go buy out some acres in Montana.
Some terrified... You've got some terrified wife who knows that you're actually a madman because the war's never coming. And then the war does come, and then the clock starts, and you've got to quickly fucking put it all together.
Yeah, I would play that. And if a war does start, I'm woefully unprepared, so I might actually have to do that. So yeah, I would play that.
On that very positive, forward-thinking note, we're gonna call a show today.
The most depressing.
Yeah.
Most depressing installment. Of the show.
Thanks for listening, I guess. Not that it matters.
Yeah.
Nothing matters. I know, but thanks for listening. We're here on twitch.tv/PCGamer every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Pacific time. If you're not going to be here during our live stream, you can go to youtube.com/PCGamer or pcgamer.com/tag/podcast to catch up there. You can subscribe to us on iTunes using our RSS feed or whatever solution you have set up for yourself. But until next week, or maybe not, because maybe that's by then the bombs will have dropped. And
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. We do see you next week. See you next time.